Hello, everyone. Welcome along to Season 4 of the IMB World Series League GT3 US League. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, joining you for the majority of this fantastic 10-round season. We had the press week just a week ago at the iconic Circuit de la Sarthe at Le Mans, but things are about to get underway for the US division, and we've got plenty of drivers. I count at least nearly 45 that are going to be hurtling their way around this 7.004 kilometre circuit. We've got 10 action-packed race evenings, leading us all the way to pretty much the week of Christmas. So we're going to be here at Spa-Francorchamps for the opening round. Next week, Hockenheim. The week after that is going to be the Red Bull Ring. Then we head to Interlagos in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Watkins Glen, Gilles Villeneuve, Monza, Mosport Park in Canada. Then we have Break Week, and then we have the final two races, Daytona Road Course and the iconic Mount Panorama in Bathurst. And we're live also on SimSport Solutions. As you can see, race 1 is going to be a 20-minute sprint. Race 2 is a 50-minute race, which will have a reverse grid in some shape or form, as in the top 10. And what we'll also have is a mandatory pit stop. And joining me from time to time, my colour commentator and also my partner in crime, a very, very big hello to my friend north of the border. Hello, David Christie. How are you?
Good evening, Alex. I'm very well, mate. Really enjoying this. The fact that I get to come and talk with you tonight, because it was all myself last night, and quite honestly, it was chaos. It was chaos and carnage last week at the press day at Le Mans. So great to be here with yourself. It was an interesting night. Obviously, doing the broadcast for the EU gives us a little bit of an idea of what to expect. They're going to be racing quite hard from the get-go, is my idea tonight.
Yeah, definitely. We do have to give a shout out to someone who might be watching, and it is, of course, a relation, the nephew of Jason Arensberg. So, Westlin, I hope you're watching, young man, because hopefully you're going to see Jason do the best bit that he can here tonight. So, of course, you can see now there is qualifying, and Harry Wills, who we all know and love in this championship, competing in both classes for EU and also for the US version. Harry Willis put it on pole position. Paul Busby will be alongside him on the front row. Ryan Kaprowski and Sean Ryan will round out row 2, with Wilson Brewer and Dave Menino on row 3. James Howard and Dean Timms on row 4. Luis Colon and Carl Boz rounding out the top 10. Gary Brown and Jeremy Littleton will be on the next row, with Ashraf El Haddad, Adal Uroksoy, who's already been in this championship a few seasons before, followed by Adam Moy and Nicholas Robinson. Richie Tremaco and John Cooper will be on the next row, with John Trainer and Chase Wilson, Stephen Martinez and Brent Bravata rounding out that particular band of misfits. Justin Delano, Richard Rosado, Michael Kulaga, Jeff Corolla, James Hebb, Eric Kalaga, James Nunn and Braden Melling rounding out the top 20 of the Pro-Am class. Then we've got Justin Ristow and Michael Fowler, followed by Matthew Plaisance, Mark Chapman, Andrew Rasmussen, Jake Scherer, and then we've also got Andrew Hewitt, Ethan Swan, Rick Swan, Matt Scherf, Daniel Florea and Charles Boschel rounding out the top 12 in what will be the Am category, but with a capacity grid of 45 cars, David, we're going to have some fast and furious action here in the Ardennes.
Oh, we absolutely are, aren't we? This is going to be crazy. There's a couple of drivers out of position that'll need swapped around, so we'll go and get that done very shortly. We're around the final corner, Alex, and I always get myself mixed up here, because I always go and get all G'd up and excited, and of course it's all the way down to the other end.
We've had that before, because I remember on a particular broadcast on another league where Dave got excited, found that this was not the start-finish line. They're going to have to go round to La Source and then go down the hill into Eau Rouge. There's going to be a 10-second gap between each of the classes. And of course, one of the other things is that you'll have one drop round. However, the final two rounds of the championship for Daytona and Bathurst, those will be exempt from drop scores. So whatever you get, that's what you leave with. So Pro Class about to get underway. Wills on pole, Busby alongside as they go down the hill in towards Eau Rouge. The red lights are on the starting gantry. Green light goes, and now we're off and away. And a good start from Wills. Busby slotting in behind the 98 Porsche, Kaprowski in P3 as they go up over the crest here at Radiant. They've got to watch their track limits. But now they run down the iconic Kemmel Straight, and you can see the line of cars. They are literally not moving at the moment, but they will be moving to get out of the slipstream as we head into Le Combe for the first time. Busby's looking for the move up the inside of Wills, and he's going to get the inside run. That's a nice little move there from the Porsche, but there's nearly a little bit of incident between them. They nearly rub door panels, but they all get through safely thus far. Wills round the outside of Busby. That's incredible work there, going through Malmedy and in towards the dip down into Bruxelles. Busby holding off Kaprowski at the moment with Brewer and Ryan rounding out the top 5. They're side by side coming down the hill as one of the cars has gone off, and that was the Ferrari. That would have been, I think, possibly Brewer that's gone off and has lost the Ferrari a few positions. That puts him outside of the top 5 as they go down the hill now into towards Pouhon for the first time, around about a 4th gear corner. They're going to pick up speed through the first apex and absolutely launch it out of the second one. And the top 5 here have already got a breakaway. We've got a car in the wall on the exit of Pouhon, and that is probably Bravata, I believe. But we now go towards Pro-Am, where we've got Trainor battling away in the number 28 car as they head down the hill through the same part. There is a gap between all 3 classes, so you've got Pro, Pro-Am and Am categories. And as I said earlier, they're being released at specific intervals, but already, David, we're going to see a replay here. Now this is Sean Ryan. Now this is the Ferrari that went off, I think, a little bit. Well, this is the Ferrari that went off the full send car. Well, it got full sent off. And then one of the twisted cars went off in spinning sympathy. But Sean Ryan collects the Ferrari back together and gets it back out on track.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened there. Just a bit of a sympathy spin here as we see Gary Brown just on the track as well. The other thing with that as well, Alex, is that these tyres are very, very cold. Very easy for that to happen here.
Yeah, so we're with Gary Brown at the moment in the number 49 car. We're going to hopefully head back trackside. But there is Gary Brown. He's I think leading the way in his particular class, but he's definitely doing a good job. That Porsche's got the legs on the Ferrari and the BMW behind it. Drivers were given until the 5th of October to get the cars changed, and they were able to, you know, have one change before the beginning of the season. But Gary Brown at the moment is still keeping the likes of Uruxoy, and you can see they're going through into the bus stop chicane. It's side by side between the 31 Ferrari, that's Jeremy Littleton, and, well, Uruxoy nearly trying to make it 3 abreast coming across the start-finish line, as they're all dicing for traction, also for tarmac real estate going through La Source. Brown hangs it around the outside. Littlejohn, I think, keeps the lead going into the rundown from La Source. There's Eric Kalaga in the number 66 Vulture Motorsports car as one of the Lamborghinis. Well, Kalaga goes off, hits the barriers. The 77, I think, has just gone off as well. That was James Hebb, who's now ended up in the garage. So, and Blair on YouTube was saying that there was a bit of funky music playing at the intro. So, Eric Kalaga making his way, and, well, that's a bit strange because Eric Kalaga has decided not to pit that number 66 Vulture Motorsports car. But at the moment, Harry Willis is... We're just clearing something off at the moment, but I can tell you at the moment that Harry Wills is leading Paul Busby by about 0.3 of a second. Ryan Kaprowski completing the top 3 in the pro class, as Kalaga still carries on with that very, very damaged front. Well, the hood on that Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo has definitely seen better days, and I think so has the car behind it. But we're just under the 5-minute mark completed, and Harry Wills is already trying to pull that gap over Paul Busby, whereas Eric Kalaga, we now go to the battle for the race lead as they come out of La Source, and there's an absolute gaggle behind. Brewer, Kaprowski and Carl Boss surrounding out the top 5 positions. So Brewer, Kaprowski and Boss battling over P3, but they're not too far behind this battle here. It's up the hill, 5th gear, 240 kilometers an hour over the crest at Radiant. And now down the infamous Kemmel Straight. But look at the run that Busby's got here. He's really in the slipstream going into Le Combe. He's going to pull to the right-hand side. It's more ducking, diving and weaving. as Brewer ahead of Kaprowski. Kaprowski retakes P3, but it's side by side through the exit of Les Combes, and Busby makes it through on Wills. That was a brilliant manoeuvre from the number 98 Porsche, but Wills is going to keep him very, very honest indeed as they go back down the hill through in towards Bruxelles and then into turn number 11, which is actually known as Speaker's Corner, even though most people refer to it as the corner of no name. That's actually where the circuit commentator will normally reside at a prestigious race event. Unfortunately, there is no speaker at the Speaker's Corner, but great battle here, David, between Busby and Wills. I mean, Busby did a great exchange with Wills going through Les Combes, and they both gave each other enough space.
Yeah, it's weird how this sort of ebbs and flows. We see this all the time from Harry Wills. He'll have a great start and then he kind of falls back a little bit, and then towards the end of the race he'll usually push the car a little bit too hard and take himself off. It's bizarre how this happens every single race, but you know, Harry Wills is a really, really blooming fast driver. But Paul Busby, again, we saw him down in the EU earlier on. So great to see these drivers, you know, out time and time again, not just in the EU race, but in the US race as well here. I've got to be honest, it's a much calmer start to this race, Alex, than we had in the EU race earlier on.
Yeah, I have to give a shout out to Ewan O'Leary and Zach Sweeney, who were on comms for that. The feature race with 3 minutes to go definitely had an incident that was a big talking point, and I'm sure that the dust has not quite settled from that just yet. Gary Brown, in the meantime, battling for P7 with Cooper alongside. That's John Cooper in the number 15, who's just given him a flash of the headlights from the Audi. They're now heading into the bus stop chicane, and there is a Porsche just behind. That is probably going to be Richie Tremaco, one of the Aussies that is actually frequenting this particular for this particular league, part of the league. But a big thank you to IMB Racewear for their continued support of both the EU and also the US sides of this league. But Brown trying to keep that car very much level, going down the hill from La Source into Eau Rouge, up the hill through the crest over to Hadion. You can see that just a couple of cars, they're not really they're not violating track limits that much there, are they, David? They're keeping it nice and pinned, aren't they, all these drivers at the moment?
They're very neat and tidy, and I think that's exactly what you need to be. Maybe not so much in this 25-minute race, but in that 50-minute race that's coming up later on tonight, Alex, you need to cross your T's and dot your I's. You don't want to be getting off tracks, because we've seen it time and time again where drivers end up having to take like a drive-through penalty because of the mistakes they make. But also having a look up the front here, Paul Busby and Harry Wills, that gap's still not really coming down, but they have cleared off from the rest here, 2 seconds ahead of the rest of the pack right now.
Yeah, Ryan Kaprowski finding it difficult to hang on to these two chargers at front. Wills nearly puts a left rear wheel in the dirt as they're going to come through. Now this is going to be at the fastest part of the circuit. They're going to make their way through Corporal Frere. They're going to head towards Blanchimont at a massive rate of knots, probably 6th gear, 250 plus kilometers an hour. They are absolutely on the limit of adhesion, and Wills is right with Busby. There could be a little bit of a look. He looks to the outside going into the bus stop chicane, and Wills has got a nose ahead for the moment, but Busby has the inside line for the bus stop. Through they go, and now this is a great switchback. If he makes it, Wills is going to pull alongside Busby along the start-finish straight. They're going to cross the line to complete another lap, and Busby still ahead. Wills pulls in behind. Great battle between Boz and Howard for 4th place as Kaprowski is closing that gap ever so slightly. It was just over 2 seconds. It's now just a fraction over 1.8. So Kaprowski was not quicker than the two in front, but Harry Wills on his previous lap, 2 minutes 16.19. Carl Boz running the 2:16.7s at the moment. We go back to Pro-Am, and we've got Justin Delano in the number 38. He's got Cooper in the Audi. Those two have been squabbling over real estate like two petulant children battling for the last swing of the playground. But they kept it all nice and fair and even Steven. And as you said, David, crossing the T's, dotting the I's, you want to really sort of line things up, as I know that Harry Wills has got the lead back, fractionally in front of Busby. But once again, I mean, Justin Delano, look at that. I mean, the livery on these cars are absolutely a sight to behold. But Wills now ahead of Busby with 10 minutes down, 15 to go, and he's He's trying to pull a little bit of a gap over Busby, but that Porsche we know is mighty in the twisty stuff.
Isn't it, Justin? You were just mentioning about the liveries here. It's something that I've always been massively jealous of, Alex. I've got about the creative skills of a 3-year-old with some Crayola whenever I try and do one of these paints. But obviously, so many talented young artists able to draw out some fantastic looking liveries. One of the ones that I wanted to point out was actually the person we mentioned earlier, Jason Arinsberg. He's actually running a special paint for the rest of the season to raise awareness for autism. So again, a mixture of, you know, supporting sponsors and also trying to get you know, awareness for causes that are very personal to these drivers.
Yeah, especially with Weston as well, who will be watching on, who's his nephew that does is autistic. And I think, what was it, he basically Jason asked the question if we could give him a shout out. We're more than happy to oblige with that kind of thing. I mean, obviously, knowing people myself who are either of my age or younger that are on the autistic spectrum, and it's a great thing for Jason to be doing that. But we go to Richie Tremaco from Middle Split Racing, the Aussie, currently running P3 behind Nicholas Robinson, and he's got the move done. That was a great lunge from the Aussie through into the bus stop chicane. So the 94 Mercedes oh, well, hang on a second, what on earth has happened there? Robinson's just dived into the pit lane. Now, was that for a drive-through penalty for possible track cuts?
I think that's going to have to be the only answer, because there's no mandatory pit stop in this race. So, yeah, I'm not really sure why he's done that.
Well, Taylor Lane's just jumped on the chat as we see this great side-by-side battle again through Le Gomme. Between these two, and Wills will get the run going through into Malmedy. He loses the back end ever so slightly. That's going to give Wills the advantage going into Bruxelles. And the Porsche keeps it pinned to the outside, the 98 on the 95, and Busby's going to get the run going into the next left-hander here. Neatly done. Great battling from these two. They're giving each other enough space. Whilst Kaprowski's had an off-track moment, Boz and Howard might be very wise to not do the same as what Kaprowski's doing, but Kaprowski's still within earshot, about 1.7 seconds adrift. But then we go to Errol Yuruksoy in the twisted number 63 BMW, who's just got, that's John Trainer up the inside of the number 63 BMW, battling for position. So they've been swapping places for 7th and 8th respectively in Pro-Am. Whereas it's looking even closer in the AM class with Brady Melling and Michael Fowler battling over the lead in the class at the moment with 13 minutes down, 12 to go. But some great dueling and dicing all the way through all three classes, David, so far.
It's been magnificent, it really has. However, I just noticed you mentioned about Taylor Lane jumping on chat, and I'm loving the fact that he's just put about as up the inside, got completely distracted there. Harry Wills decides to take place from Paul Busby, but Busby gets a much better exit and entry through that corner, through that final chicane there. That Porsche really does have the handling measured over the Merc, which is, it's got the straight line speed, but it just doesn't want to turn in as much as, you're kidding me, round outside of the source. That is, Alex, that is scandalous.
That is absolutely alien-esque. Yeah, Taylor Lane saying, gotta love taking naps and sleeping through your alarm to miss the race by literally 30 seconds. Taylor, you're not going to live that down as the leader's line astern going up through Orhouge and through Radion now. The Kemmel Straight will provide Wills with a side draft. And look, there's a cone that's been thrown asunder because they were just so close to the wall. And now the side draft takes effect, so Wills is probably going to have the run going into Le Gomme on Busby, but Busby still has the inside line. Wills is still going to keep it pinned. They nearly make a little bit of door contact there through Le Gomme, and Wills is through once again. And still, with just over 10 minutes to go in this 25-minute race, that is absolutely scandalous that these two are putting on one hell of a display in this opening race of the season.
Absolutely incredible, and every single class is given us. We've got Chase Wilson and Richie Tremaco here fighting it out here. Wilson just takes the advantage over Richie Tremaco, but still Richie's still trying to hold on to that. And then you look back at the AMs as well. You've got Braden Mailing ahead of Michael Flower and Matthew Playson. So we've got three title fights right now, and that's what they are, because it's round 1 of the season. So this is all for, you know, the big points right now. So crucial as well, Alex, to get such a good start to the season. You want to get as much points you can early on, because misfortune can and usually does await very, very quickly.
Yeah, Manning's coming under pressure from Fowler and Plaisance. I mean, it's 40 points for a race victory in the 25-minute sprint race. In the 50-minute feature race with a mandatory pit stop where tyres are not required, it's 60 points. So if you can get 100 in the bank early ahead of round 2 next week at the Hockenheimring, as now we go back to the battle for the lead. Busby looking, waiting, and sends it up the inside of Wills going through into the bus stop. Wills is going to have the over-under here. Busby runs a little bit wide but has the purchase, and that's one of the things about the Porsche. The traction is going to be so much more crucial, and we've seen that time and time again, but Busby's just using that sheer grunt of that 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8 where you got a flat 6 boxer engine planted over the rear axles in the Porsche, and that's why it's able to scarper away. But whilst they've been battling, look at Ryan Kaprowski. Kaprowski is now in this mix, so we're going to have a 3-way scrap for the race lead in AM, we've got a 3-way scrap for the lead in Pro, and we've got a 2-way scrap in Pro-Am.
Incredible stuff as you're on board with Ryan Kaprowski just now. He's looking up at that battle with Harry Wills and Paul Busby, and again side by side, and Wills takes the lead again. I mean, this is a brilliant example, given how chaotic the EU races were. This is how it should be, Alex. This is how the racing should have been, given how close they were and how desperate some of the fighting was. The US lot again showing that you can be right next to each other, you can be trading toe to toe and trading paint with each other, and you don't put your opponent into the wall.
Yeah, Jake Shear coming under pressure from Andrew Rasmussen for 4th place in the AM class. So Brady Melling from Canada has pulled away in the number 8 car. The BMW has got about an 8/10 of a second advantage over Fowler, just behind in the number 54, with Matthew Plaisance in the number 9, still holding on to that 3rd place but gunning for 2nd. There's Jake Shear with Andrew Rasmussen just behind as they make their way down the Kemmel Straight. And just to think, we're nearly 18 minutes through this 25-minute race. So quite a few drivers actually in the pits as well. I count, by my reckoning, probably about 8 or so drivers. Jeremy Littleton is in the 31 is the next driver to go on. He started in around about P12, now is down in 36th position. But Harry Wills really being hustled by Paul Busby as once again, but Kaprowski is just waiting. He's just waiting to see if something unfolds as they go through the bus stop chicane once again. Kaprowski a little bit later on the brakes on that particular occasion, as both Wills and Busby run a little bit wide coming out of the bus stop, and across the line that we will go for another lap. So we're on to lap number 9 of this race, with 18 minutes and 13 seconds completed of this 25-minute encounter. And Kaprowski is just waiting there, David. He is just biding time. Boz and Howard are battling away like 2 children on the swing of the playground, and Boz is already up from 10th place to 4th position. That's a great run for the number 3 car.
Looking rather menacing, isn't it? And just let's take it again a second, Alex, to have a look at that time screen on the left. Those top 5 battles, all of them are so close, but my God, how close is the AM battle right now? You've got 5 cars separated by less than 2 seconds as side by side again go Harry Wills and Paul Busby. And
also James Howard and Carl Boz went side by side, and now who's just lost it? Who has just lost it? That's Carl Boz from Celerity Sim Racing. They were side by side, the back end stepped out to the right side. I don't think there was any contact there. I think he just lost it, and there's so James Howard has also come a cropper as well, and there's one Ferrari that is crabbing, I'm afraid. That car has got significant rear damage and also suspension troubles as well. Chase Wilson literally being pushed along by Richie Tremaco from Australia, and the gap is just under 3/10 between them. We go back to the race lead in AM, and it's become a 2-horse race because Brady Melling and Matthew Plaisance now are battling away for the lead in the AM class. So it is BMW versus Porsche, and the Porsche looks to the right hand side, going in for the inside line, going into Les Gommes. Mailing runs a little bit wide, and Plaisance is through to take the race lead in the AM class with 5 minutes to go.
Let's go. This is awesome stuff to watch. Really, really enjoying this. This is the AM battle then. You've got Matthew Plaisance just ahead of Braden Mailing, who, as you said, went a little bit deep into that corner there. Michael Fowler in third, with Jake Scherer in fourth position, just behind that Michael Fowler as well. I mean, this is awesome, awesome stuff. This is the sort of quintessential American kind of sports car racing that we normally see from the likes of the MX-5s and IMSA, for example. It's just awesome stuff to watch, but we've not got too much longer to go. I think we've got about 3 laps left to go here, and that gap at the front starting to age out now. Harry Wills dropping down to about 0.7 of a second behind.
Braden Mailing's lost about a second after he went a little bit wide going into Les Gommes, so Matthew Plaisance is leading that. Chase Wilson still leading the way in the Pro-Am class, with Richie Tremaco still putting the pressure on, and that is the closest lead battle that we've got over all 3 classes, with 4 minutes to go on the timer. So yeah, I think by David's reckoning we've got about 2 or 3 laps left to go. But Wilson in the Lamborghini, Tremaco in the Mercedes, heading down the hill into Eau Rouge, up through this wonderful, wonderful complex, going through into Adion as we ride on board with the Australian, nearly knocking the cone over on the right hand side. 6th gear, 260 kilometers an hour about to be reached. Now the draft is really starting to show for Tremaco. The 94 could have gone for a move, possibly, if he was a little bit closer on Wilson, but Wilson keeps the lead going through into Les Gommes with just under 2.5 minutes remaining on the timer. So we'll have this and also one more lap by the speed that these drivers are circumnavigating this fantastic just over 7 kilometer circuit that has been around for over a century. August 1921 was when it opened, way back when, and it is an FIA grade. And Brent Bravada said, "Gotta love it when your car just loses all rear grip in the fastest corner for no reason." Oh dear, not good for Brent Bravada. Hopefully, Brent, you'll have a better time out in the 50-minute feature race, which will be coming up a few moments after this one has concluded. But again, Paul Busby is leading Harry Wills by just over 0.7 of a second. Ryan Kaprowski rounds out the top 3 in the pro class, but still this battle here between Wilson and Tremaco for the Pro-Am class victory. And Tremaco goes dirt tracking a little bit on through that right-hander that he just got through. They've just gone through Stavelot and into Cours Frère. They're going to go into the fastest part of the circuit here towards Blanchimont, and but a great battle between these two, as I think our leaders have now started what's going to be the penultimate lap of the race, because they're already on to lap number 11. Matthew Plaisance is losing a little bit of time. Braden Melling has started to catch him in the BMW. So this could be an interesting dynamic, but then you also look behind him. Michael Fowler, Andrew Rasmussen are within earshot. So you've now got 4 cars covered by probably, what is that, just over 1.6 seconds.
And the thing is as well, I think there was a little bit of pressure there for Matthew Plaisance. I think that's a little bit of the reason why he ended up backing off there. Also, when you were on about Brent Bravata going on about loving the car losing all rear grip for no reason, that's like a testimonial to iRacing. It's like, welcome at iRacing, where your car's going to do the most random thing for no reason whatsoever.
Yep, so we're heading on to the final lap of this 25-minute race. We've got the 50-minute one coming up, where a mandatory pit stop will be required. There is your overall race leader, Paul Busby from Effect Esports, in the number 98 Porsche. Some great battling between him and Harry Wills. They'll both be happy with a good start. It's 40 for a win, 38 for second, 36 for third, 34 for fourth, and 32 points for fifth place. Chase Wilson really has been fending off the advances of Tremaco over the course of this complete race, and the gap is still within half a second. But Braden Melling, in the meantime, has caught up a little bit more with Matthew Plaisance. He took over 0.3 of a second out of the car in front, the number 9, over the last lap. So it's going to be a case of how quickly can Braden Melling reel in Matthew Plaisance. I think that's going to be a case of, well, wait and see what happens. They have got a Lamborghini just up in front of them. So I'm wondering if that was one of the cars that might have had a drama a little bit earlier. But we are coming towards the final of the final part of the race as the timer now hits 25 minutes. And still this battle wages on in the AM class. Plaisance has pulled away from Melling to the tune of about 7.5 tenths of a second. Busby leads Wills by just over 1.2 seconds in the Pro class, and there are our Pro-Am drivers, Wilson and Trimaco. And Chase Wilson is going to come out of the bus stop chicane, but they are still going to carry on because obviously the leaders completed that lap, didn't they, David? So I'm waiting to see when the checkered comes out, because our leaders now in Pro class making their way through Le Com.
Yeah, so as always with iRacing, it's the time plus 1 lap as Chef Garolo goes into the wall there. So that is going to be a big bit of damage coming out of the final chicane there. Ooh. for Jeff Garolo. He's back into the pits.
And he's out of the race. Oh, dearie me. So, well, Braden Melling has closed that gap a little bit more now, and let's just see what his lap times were. He was literally 1/100th slower than Matthew Plaisance, who was holding on to that lead. There's the lesser spotted Ferrari that has got all that damage to it. That was, I think, Eric Kalaga in the number 66 that's still running around with a very wounded Lamborghini from Sant'Agata Bolognese. But Plaisance still trying to keep Melling at bay. Can the BMW close up coming down the Kemmel Straight? This could be quite crucial for Braden Melling, but if he can get a good amount of purchase, despite obviously how his tyres might be feeling after this race, that gap's now down to 6 tenths. I don't think it's going to be enough for Braden Melling to try and challenge Matthew Plaisance as we now go back to our overall race leader, Paul Busby, in the number 98 Porsche, about to make his way through to the bus stop chicane for the final time. The checkered will be out this time, and it's the number 98 of Effect Esports, Paul Busby, comes out of the final corner and will win the Pro class in race number 1 ahead of Harry Wills. Great racing, and then Ryan Kaprowski completes the top 3. I think that's Carl Boz about to cross the line very shortly, who takes 4th place, but Chase Wilson has pulled a gap of over 1.2 seconds over Richie Trimaco in the Pro-Am class with the lovely white and pink Lamborghini, the number 13 making its way through the bus stop chicane. Chase Wilson will pick up the first Pro-Am victory of the championship season by over a second ahead of Richie Trimaco. And also there has been a bit of a change, because it looks like John Cooper's going to take P3 because there has been an incident. Steve Martinez drops out of the top 5 and ends up behind Errol Yuriksoy and Justin Ristow. But Matthew Plaisance is keeping himself as far away as he dare from Braden Melling in the car behind, the number 8 car. And they've also got Michael Fowler in the 54, who will round out the top 3 as they head through the bus stop chicane. Plaisance and Melling both running under the same stable, ERS by Skylines Designs. So it's 2 Porsches that win. So we've got a Porsche winning in Pro, a Lamborghini in Pro-Am, and a Porsche winning in the Am class after 25 minutes of racing. And a big thank you to Brent, because I did notice they are running under the same team as well. Ethan Swan in the number 4 Audi, making his way through into the final parts of the circuit here at Spa-Francorchamps, running in 11th place. But, well, what can I say, David? That was a pretty good way to kick off the IMB Racewear World Series League GT3 US League, wasn't it?
Mega stuff, but it's left a very high bar of expectation now, Alex. We need to see this level of behaviour in race 2, which of course we won't. I think last week we ended up having about 45% of the cars finishing the actual race, but as we get Ethan Swan coming across the line, that's all the drivers. Let's get some results.
Yes, indeed. So there we go. That's the end of race 1 here out of 2 tonight. So Paul Busby winning the Pro class by 1.17 seconds ahead of Harry Wills. Ryan Kaprowski rounding out the top 3 with Carl Boss, Wilson Brewer, Dean Timms, James Howard Luis Colon, Sean Ryan and Dave Meneno rounding out the top 10 in the Pro class. Then we go to Pro-Am. Chase Wilson winning by 1.1 seconds ahead of Richie Tremaco with John Cooper. Elo Yuruksoy, Justin Ristal. Steve Martinez could have been in the top 5 but ended up 6 after that bus stop chicane incident, with Justin Delano, John Traynor, Michael Kalaga and Gary Brown rounding at the top 10. Ashraf El Haddad, James Nunn and Eric Kalaga, with Richard Rosada being the drivers that ended up finishing pretty much on the same lap. But then you can see a hefty amount of drivers that probably didn't even make it to the end of the race, like Corolla, Moy, Littleton, Robertson et al. And then Matthew Plaisance and Braden Melling. The 2 ERS by Skyline Designs cars making their way to making it 1-2 for the team. Michael Fowler rounding out the top 3 with Jake Shear and Andrew Rasmussen. They were at one point within a second of each other, and the gap between them was about 6 seconds at the end of the race. Charles Boschel, John Casey, Matt Schuff, Drew Neubauer, Daniel Florea, Ethan Swan, Paul Joseph, Rick Swan, Andrew Hewitt and Mark Chapman were the, that's how it classified for the AM class. But I think we have got some, we'll try and see if we can actually get some drivers in. So I'm going to now try and see if I can work my magic here. Let's see if we can bring in our first driver.
You have the power.
Let's see if I have the power and the privilege to do so. Let's bring Jason Ahrensberg in. If I don't think I can. There we go. Jason, a very, very good evening. How are you? I don't know if I could hear you there, Jason.
He's put himself on mute, has he? We'll pop him back.
He?
I'm not sure. We'll pop him back in the waiting room until he's ready. He did say that he was going to be right back, so we'll bring him in when he does come back. Right. In the meantime, let's bring in Matthew Plaisance for you to have a chat with, Alex.
Yeah, definitely. Matthew, a very, very good evening. How are you doing?
I am doing great. How are you?
Not too bad. A good start for ERS by Skyline Designs. A 1-2 for the team. Some close battling between you and Braden for the majority of that race, but still to come away with a victory to start off the season in the great way possible here at a fantastic circuit. What are your first thoughts?
Oh, I'm just very happy that he didn't fight me too hard when I overtook him. And it's nice to make up for last week's mess up in the press day race where I lost it on the last lap and lost the win.
Oh. Well, at least you know now that. I mean, the great thing that we saw all the way through that race was the amount of, you guys are teammates anyway at the end of the day. But when you get behind the wheel and you've stopped all the pleasantries on Discord, it's a very different feeling when you're getting on the track, isn't it?
Yeah, we try to keep it civil. We really don't want to be fighting each other too hard, at least at first. If one of us has a clear run, we tend to let the other go. Later in the season, if we're fighting for points, it may get a little more heated, but we'll just have to see.
And obviously for race 2, there's going to be a reverse top 10. How are you feeling? Because I mean, we've had you win in a Porsche in the AM class. We've had Paul Busby win in the Pro class, and we've had a Lamborghini win. So Porsche and Lamborghini seem to be some pretty good cars for this season, don't they?
Absolutely. I haven't raced it much. Before this, I did Ferrari the last 2 seasons, so I wanted to change up, and I guess I made a good decision this time.
Brilliant. Well, Matthew, thanks very much for talking to us here briefly, and we'll let you get on and get ready for race 2.
All right, thank you.
So a big thank you to Matthew there. Let's see if we can bring Braden Melling in. Braden, good evening. How are you doing? Great fight between you and Matthew in that first race. Both teammates. And Matthew was just explaining to me, you don't want to fight each other too hard, but to get points on the board, solid points, that's a good start to the season.
Yeah, it definitely is a good start to the season. It was actually funny during the race. Obviously, we're talking to each other during it, and we even said, like, as soon as Matt got past, we're just like, okay, let's just work together, pull away, get that 1-2 ERS. And then all of a sudden, he passed me right in the next corner. I was like, really? But no, it was good racing. Like, obviously very respectful. Like, I want to say good job to Fowler. He obviously raced very well that entire race. But yeah, good all around.
Of course, the race 2, bit of a different kettle of fish. You know, double the amount of time on the clock. You know, 50 minutes, mandatory pit stop. But a tyre is going to play a big factor into this race because Spa can be quite abrasive.
Yeah, I do believe that tires are definitely going to get chewed up through this race. Spa is just notorious for doing that. There's a few other tracks on the calendar that are probably going to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it's going to be tire wear is going to be bad enough that we'll actually need to change a set of tires. But
Yeah.
I honestly would not be surprised if you see 1 or 2 people trying that out.
Cool. Well, Braden, thanks a lot for your time. We'll let you get set and ready for race 2, which will be coming up shortly. But thanks for popping in. We'll catch up with him hopefully a little bit later on. But we'll bring in our Pro-Am winner, the number 13 Lamborghini. Let's bring in Chase Wilson. Chase, firstly, congratulations. A victory to kickstart the season in the best way possible.
Yeah, not a bad way to jumpstart your season, finishing in P1. I'm looking forward to the second race. It's obviously going to have a way different dynamic starting all the way at the back. But it was some good racing out there, some interesting moments, and looking forward to the season to come.
I think also that the sound of the racing that we've seen just in the opening race, I mean, forgetting the press day last week at Le Mans, you know, this circuit has seen, well, tonight we've had a Porsche win Pro, a Porsche win Am, and then you in the Lamborghini making it a win in the Pro-Am class. I mean, that's a pretty good way. I mean, the Lamborghini's quite strong around here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely strong through the second sector. I feel like I'm losing a little bit of top end. Those Mercedes are super quick, but if I'm able to tuck up behind one, I'm still able to get a pretty decent run up to, into the Mulsanne Straight, and then yeah, it seems to be working for me right now. But we'll see how it works at different tracks throughout the season.
Brilliant. Well, Chase, congratulations on your victory in the sprint race tonight. Good luck for the feature.
Thank you, guys.
And I think we've probably got time for one more because I'm not too sure how long we've got until the race gets going. But let's bring in the number 49 of Gary Brown. Gary, good evening.
Hey, how are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Definitely some good racing out there. How is the Porsche handling around Spa?
Well, it's pretty good. I started to cook the rear tires a little bit, so it got a little loose for me on the end. So I might have to make a little adjustment before the next race if I'm going to try to last 50 minutes now. But otherwise, to be honest, it felt pretty good. It felt pretty fast. So. I mean, also the good thing that we've seen, we saw a lot of in this opening race, which hopefully sets the trend for the season, is the amount of clean battles that we had all the way through. How is it from your perspective? Yeah, it's been pretty good. I think for the most part, everybody out here is trying to get through the whole thing. So I think, at least from my point of view, when I see somebody behind me that I think is clearly faster, there's no sense in both of us wrecking out. Live to fight another corner kind of thing. So, and then this track is tricky. I mean, if if you're right behind somebody going through Eau Rouge, then there's a really good chance you're going to pass them in the straight. So why fight them right before that? You know what I mean? So you just got to kind of play the game of Spa.
Yeah, I mean, also, like you say, coming through Eau Rouge and Radion, you go down the iconic Kemmel Straight. I mean, it's not just the tow that you get from, being behind another vehicle, but then when you pull alongside them, you get that added side draft as well. How much of that is a benefit for you in the Porsche when it goes to going down the Kemmel Straight and heading into Les Cornes?
Well, honestly, so I'm having a good time in the Porsche right now. It seems to be handling awesome, and it seems to be drafting pretty well. So it's been really good. This season seems to be kind of stepped up a level for me as far as my performance. So I don't know if I'm getting any better at this or what. The car is a little bit better. So I'm seeing a sort of overall improvement all the way around, and it's been quite nice to experience. I mean, it was a little bit of a frustrating race for me. I had a great quality lap, and then second lap through Eau Rouge, I kind of got pushed out a little bit wide and got a slowdown. Yeah, and it's hard to fight back from back there, but again, try to finish the race and go on to the next one.
Brilliant. Well, Gary, thanks for chatting to us, and good luck in the feature race.
Absolutely. See you guys later. Have a good one.
So a big thank you to all the drivers that have just spoken to us. We're going to go to a brief break before we get ourselves geared up and ready for the feature race. 50 minutes with a mandatory pit stop, and it's at the iconic Spa-Francorchamps. Don't go away. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second part of the opening round of the Season 4 of the IMB World Series League US. It's Alex Goldschmidt and David Christie back with you. As you can see, we're getting ready for our second race. It's going to be a 50-minute encounter, top 10 in each respective class. So Pro, Pro-Am and Am will be reversed. So whoever finished in 10th in all of the three respective classes last time out will start on pole position. So there's going to be a bit of a tall order for our three race winners. Paul Busby basically saying in the chat on the Discord saying, well, it's 2 o'clock in the morning where I am, so I will definitely be killed if I am too loud by my neighbour. But that just goes to show
that feeling, Alex.
Well, we're trying to keep it as nice and as calm as possible, but so far, David, we've seen some cracking racing, and this is where the apple cart sort of gets upset a little bit, because we've got a different kettle of fish, you know, mandatory pit stop. They don't have to get tyres, but very, very, very good point, I have to say. Gary Brown saying, my tyres did start getting a little bit loose towards the end of the race, so I think the Porsche might have its hands full here in this second race. I mean, you've got to look out for those that have been racing in the Porsches. I mean, Paul Busby being one of them.
Yeah, the issue with that as well is that if their tyres are getting a bit squirrely after 25 minutes, they're not going to be wanting to change them for a 50-minute race. They want to be in, taking fuel, and that's literally it. So they need to calm things down a little bit. Also, I think the driving will be a little bit more measured, or it should be more measured in this second race. Maybe not, yeah, famous last words, isn't it?
You sort of enunciated your tone on the word should.
Should, yeah, they should be doing that. However, from what I've seen in the past, like tonight, and from the last week's race, I'm not sure that's going to happen. However, that first race was absolutely exemplary. They did so well, and yeah, look, this is the race that's going to get me a warning from my neighbour for the noise. So let's get it on.
Yes, indeed. As we are waiting for everyone to start readying up, we will have a rolling start once again, like we did for the first race. So it will be 50 minutes plus an additional lap with a mandatory pit stop. So Pro-Am, and Am will be released at 10-second intervals. So it'll be 10 seconds between the back car on the respective train on Light Pro to the pole sitter on Am, and then the same for Pro-Am and for Am as well. So a bumper grid, 45 cars. There was a little bit of an attrition in the first race. I mean, we were down by probably about close to a quarter of the field. I mean, there were a few incidents. I mean, Eric Kalaga, I have to give a shout out to him because he drove that Lamborghini with no front on that hood whatsoever. From the minute he had that massive moment earlier on in the race and still got it to the checkered. So shout out to Eric Kalaga on that particular occasion, but let's hope that his Lamborghini does not suffer such heavy damage, because that would have compromised steering and suspension on the front of the vehicle. And Monty 64 says, for sure, a lot less drama than earlier in the EU. Laugh out loud. Yes, I did watch the EU stream a little bit earlier, and that just goes to show that there's a different mentality, isn't there, a little bit, David?
It really, really does, Alex. You know, it just seems like normally the US one is the one that goes a bit crazy, whereas they're being very, very restrained tonight.
Well, here's the starting grid for what we're going to have for the Pro class. Dave Menino will start from pole position, ahead of Sean Ryan, with Lewis Colon, James Howard, Dean Timms, Wilson Brewer, Carl Boss and Ryan Kaprowski running at the top 8, with Harry Wills and Paul Busby, our Race 1 winner, starting in 9th and 10th respectively, with Taylor Lane finally with us. He's going to start from the back in P11. Gary Brown will start on pole position for the Pro-Am class, with Michael Kalaga alongside John Trainer and Justin Delano, row 2. Steve Martinez and Justin Risto, row 3. Adol Yuriksoy and John Cooper, row 4, with Richie Tremaco and Chase Wilson on row 5. Ashred El Haddad and James Nunn rounding out the top 6 rows. It'll be Eric Kalaga, Richard Rosado and Jeff Carollo, who had that massive incident coming off the bus stop chicane earlier, starting in 15th, ahead of Adam Moy, Jeremy Littleton, Nicholas Robinson, Brent Bravata, James Hev and Andrew Hewson. Then going to Am, Daniel Florea and Drew Neubauer will start on the front row for the Am class, as they're now starting to release the Pro class. So let's see if we can quickly round through this grid. Matt Scherf, John Casey, Charles Boschel, Andrew Rasmussen, Jake Scher, then we've got Michael Fowler, Braden Melling and Matthew Plaisance rounding out the top 10, with Ethan Swan, Paul Joseph, Rick Swan, Andrew Hewitt completing the top 7 rows, with Mark Chapman and Jason Ahrensberg from Vulture Motorsports rounding out the 16 strong. So we're going to have 47 cars, and it looks like Eric Kalaga might not take the start. I think he's in pit road at the moment, so may have missed his window of opportunity, as Dave Menino and Sean Ryan will be on the front row of the grid. They are going to have to wait as the Porsche pace car pulls into pit road. And now the drivers, some of them weaving from side to side, just to get a little bit more, couple of degrees of temperature into the tyres and the brakes. But the tyres are still going to be very, very cold here at Spa-Francorchamps. So Ryan and Menino on the front row through into the source. They're going to take the field down into the run down to Eau Rouge and Radiant. The 50-minute feature race is under starters orders here at the iconic Spa-Francorchamps circuit. So the lights go red and Once they go out, we'll be under full throttle green flag racing. Now the lights go out, the power gets applied down, and here we go into Eau Rouge and Radion for the first time. Meneno gets a great start ahead of Ryan, and the Lamborghini is a couple of car lengths ahead as they go through into the Camel Straight for the first time. And again, a train starting to form between the Pro class as Meneno, now the Pro-Am class gets underway. Brown gets an absolute lightning start in the Vulture Motorsports, number 49. He's absolutely bolted. Trainor going with him, Calaga, Delano Martinez, someone's gone, and that is Eric Calaga now coming out of pit lane. So he will start at the back of that one. But then we've got the AM class due to start. They'll have the green flag waved. Now they start getting things underway. Things like, well, that's Jason Arensberg. What on earth was going on there? I'm not 100% sure.
Somebody has not given him the memo that the start line. Do you know what he's done? He's done what I do on the commentary. He went,
dearie me,
he went to the first bit and gapped the entire field.
Oh no! Oh my goodness!
He's waiting for them.
He's waiting for them, and he's got like he's giving away a 13-second advantage.
I'd just be gone.
Look! Here comes the cavalry. Here comes the cavalry. Come on, Jason, put your foot down. And like they've literally just gone right. Here we go. I think he's actually doing a very, very sensible thing to sort of like hold off and let as many people pass as possible. But Dave Meneno has got a lead over Sean Ryan by about 9/10 of a second. Paul Busby already up 2 positions to 8th place. And now you can see it side by side for around about 5th or 6th place. I think it's Timms and Boz alongside each other. Boz has already got up 1 position, so has Kaprowski. Wilson Brewer up from 6th to 4th as they're going to hurtle their way side by side, 2 by 2, hurrah, like the parting of the seas. Thank you, Moses. And one car nearly comes a cropper going through the bus stop chicane, but Dave Meneno leading the way. Gary Brown, however, has got John Trainor close for company in the number 28 in the Pro-Am class lead. And you can see, they're getting 3 wide going through the bus stop chicane. Careful, boys, careful. This could be very, very ugly. Look at the cavalcade of colour coming through there. Brent Bravada currently running in 17th in the class. Well, running 17th at the moment in the class. But then we look at Daniel Florea from Twisted Racing. He's got a comfortable lead over Drew Neubauer in the number 47 BMW, who's got Matt Scherf in the number 43 Porsche for close company. Then we go back to the battle for the thing is, Dave Meneno has not gotten away, and Sean Ryan's really putting him under pressure. Someone's gone off the circuit. That's James Howard in the 99 car, and
where's he going?
Just gone off, and he's gone returned to garage. Significant front end damage there. I think he just thought, well, I can go through there. No, you can't. And he just got a massive wallop of damage on the front of that BMW. But Dave Meneno still holding on to the race lead. Brent Bravada still trying to get through. Jeremy Littleton from Canada has just gone off in the number 31 Twisted Ferrari 488 and drops pretty much towards the bottom end of the Pro-Am class with, I think that is Calaga. That could be Eric Calaga, I believe, in the 66 that is there. Drew Neubauer is crawling. That car has hit the wall. So Neubauer was running in P2. Here's a replay. He's actually coming out of the pit lane, and he's just hit the wall coming out of the pit lane, and you can see that the car's just bouncing up and down. What on earth happened to Drew Neubauer? You're now going to see with Michael Fowler in the number 54. Well, there's a Porsche that's just gone off. Fowler's going up the inside and clobbers the curbs, and he just gets a massive smack in the door panel and in the front wing for good measure. Now he then rejoins, and Brandon Mayling has already made his way up 9 positions. Now going to Jason Arensberg with the Vulture Motorsports autistic liveried car. And he's lost it big time. That's a massive hit into the barriers, and Jason Arensberg is in pit road as a result of that one. But Drew Neubauer has gone back up to speed, I believe. Paul Busby is going side by side with a particular car. That could be Dean Timms. He's just gone side by side with on the road to Eau Rouge. But look at Paul Busby in the number 98. He's already up 6 places. He's leading this 5, maybe 6 car train for 4th place. As now Sean Ryan takes the lead into Le Com off of Dave Meneno.
Absolute craziness. 5 minutes into the race and it's still been relatively calm compared to the EU stuff, but drivers, you know, trading positions left, right and centre. Great move from Sean Ryan. He just waited to take that position from Dave Menino here, but meanwhile behind there it's a 6-car fight for what is 4th position. You've got Paul Busby, Kyle Boz, Dean Tibbs, Ryan Kaprowski, Harry Wilson there as well, Taylor Lane, and that's just for the pros. Down to the AMS as well. AMS has opened up significantly until you've got a 4-car battle, 5-car battle for 3rd place here, Alex.
Yeah, now Michael Fowler's closing in on Braden Melling. Monty64's withdrawn his drama comments on YouTube. A bit late for that, mate, I'm afraid. Oh, what? There was just a slight moment there for Michael Fowler, but don't worry, he's still running out on track. But he's within 3/10, so the twin-turbo inline 6 of that BMW will be at the mercy of the 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8 power plant underneath that massive snout of that Mercedes as they go through Le Com. So a great battle here, but whilst that's happening, Daniel Florea has got a 3.1 second lead. Braden Melling goes a little bit wide. That was going through Malmedy, and there is Florea leading the way. Fowler and Melling still battling away over P2 as they're going to head into the left-hander here at Speaker's Corner at T11. And then they've got this nice little run down to Pouhon, or Double Gauche as it was originally known. Double left is the English translation. Into Pouhon, 185 kilometers an hour at 4th gear. Now accelerating. It's now pushing over 220 kph up to 5th. Then now into Campus, and then heading in towards Lifagne, and also into the iconic Stavlo corner. But great job by Braden Melling here, David, to keep Michael Fowler at bay for P2 in the AM class, as Eric Kalaga's been into more dramas, and he's been passed by Brent Bravada from the mid-south of the US. We're going to have a look at the replay here. This is Matt Scherf from Pennsylvania in the number 43 car with the Maguire's livery. Oh, that's coming out of Pouhon, sideways. There is a bit of front-end damage to that car, and that car was rolling backwards, but he managed to save it. And then we're going to see, 3 BMWs squabbling over the same real estate, and someone's going to get a hit, and that was the number 11. And the number 23, that was Brent Bravada again in the wars, and the number 23, I'm trying to work out who that was, Nicholas Robinson. Yeah, Richard Rosado here in the number 10 Mercedes, coming through into the bus stop chicane, takes the first part and decides to dive into pits, and yeah, there's a little bit of rear end damage to that car as well. So Brent Bravada's having a little bit of a better time, but he's got Eric Kalaga just up ahead of him. Paul Busby in the meantime has got up to P3, and he's got Wilson Brewer and Carl Boz just behind. Harry Wills has now started to hit the loud pedal a bit harder, and this is not the Dakar Rally, Kyle Boz, I'm afraid. He just went gravel tracking coming out of Malmedy and through into Bruxelles, and now heading into this faster part of the circuit, now actually into Blanchimont. Taylor Lane is trying to get up the field in the fiercely forward, and the AMG runs wide coming through Blanchimont. You do not want to have a code brown at 6th gear, 250 clicks through Blanchimont there, David, at all.
That was a code sort of semi-brown sort of at the moment there, because that was a big whip of oversteer.
It was the mark. It was a slight mark, not the full Monty.
It was a racing stripe, Alex.
Oh dearie me.
The conversation's already gone down. I was about to say down toilet. That might not be a better comment there, but either way, look at how much momentum that's cost Taylor Lane right now. Those 6 cars off into the distance now. He's lost about 0.7 of a second there. He'll get some of it back, but it just shows you how quickly you go from hero to zero on this circuit.
It does. I mean, Taylor Lane saying, it's the story of my life, sleep is my worst enemy. Why is it a thing? Well, he's just found that his worst enemy is now the track when he's had sleep. So hopefully Taylor Lane can get that number 32 Mercedes a little bit further towards Ryan Kaprowski, who's languishing down in 8th position. Now we've got Chase Wilson, who won the Pro-Am class in that white and pink Lamborghini. He's just passed Steve Martinez. and that's for P5 in the class. He's got about 1.3 seconds between himself and Errol Yuruksoy, who runs out the top 4. Some good moves from Chase Wilson, having started P10 in the class, now making up 5 positions in the opening 10 minutes. We've still got 40 to go, plus also we've got those mandatory pit stops as well for these drivers to worry about, and that's going to be crucial here, David, because it also depends on how much these drivers have fueled up the cars. We've got an absolute squabble here. Wilson Brewer battling away with Carl Boz and Harry Wills, and Wills is trying to gain on them with that sheer grunt of that Mercedes, but the 2 BMWs seem to be hanging on so far.
Yeah, that BMW is a cracking little car, the M4 GT3, one of my favourites here. So we've got a car going wide there at the right hand side there. I'm trying to get an idea on that.
I think that might have been yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's just showing us off track. So
yeah. I was just about to say though about the BMW. It's a brilliant little car because, you know, for someone like me that's fairly average at sim racing, I just pop on every now and again. The M4 is so well balanced. It's not exactly the fastest, it's not exactly the slowest, but it's a great car for like just to jump in and actually do some solid laps in. So it's great fun, and yeah, you can see why it's doing so well there.
A great all-rounder is the BMW.
Yeah.
It always has been. I mean, you know, when we had the you know, the M4 hasn't really been the best looker in the style department, but obviously, as they say, form follows function, and that's exactly what those kidney grills do on these cars, for the way that the car is mechanically set up, as Carl Boz looks towards the outside of Wilson Brewer. Now this is going into Le Gon. They've got to be very, very careful of these two, and Boz makes it through. He squeezes through that gap. They nearly open the door as Brewer's off, and he's going to beat backwards into the barriers. Oh dear, Brewer I think just got all crossed up, lit the throttle up, and all of a sudden he's decided to park it in the pits. So we're going to see a replay of this. Now, was there a touch between the two? It's looking very, very close indeed. No, Carl Boz, credit to him, literally threaded the eye of the needle, wallop of curb, and then Wills is getting closer. Just keep your eyes on the right front and the left rear. There's going to be a touch, and there's the impact.
Yeah,
and straight away, I think Harry Wills had nowhere to go. Wilson Brewer was trying to cover off the line. I think that might be just a racing incident more than anything.
Yeah, for 100%. For me, just if we go back to this as well, I think Brewer was already spinning and actually just spun into the way of Harry Wills here. You can see as that car comes round, yeah, see there it is, into the path of Harry Wills there, and Harry's got absolutely nowhere to go. So I do believe that is the first time tonight that we can use the word yeeted off into the barriers.
I was wondering. I was wondering who was going to say that first, and you beat me to the punch, you bugger. But nevertheless, we digress. We carry on. We've got Andrew Hewson battling away with Adam Moy. Now this is for 13th position. Now we go back to the AM class, and oh well, that's not a surprise. Braden Melling, who I spoke to in the interval between race 1 and race 2, now leads the AM class. So he's managed to make up, well, 13 total positions, as both Florea and Fowler run excessively wide going through, and I think Florea's gone off track again. This could give Matthew Plaisance an opportunity, and if he's got a slowdown from that. So Braden Melling, oh, it's down the Kemmel Straight. It was just like easy pickings on a Sunday afternoon. Braden Melling just launched it because he knew he had the run on Daniel Florea. Florea was like a sitting duck going down Le Gon. But this is going to get a bit tetchy here for Adam Moy if he's not too careful. Harry Wills has now got himself up into P4. And he's ahead of Dean Timms in 6th position, and Carl Boss, who rounds out the top 5. So it looks like Wills is getting a wriggle on here, David.
He certainly is, and this is a good performance for him, for Harry. We know he's got the pace to win the races here. It's the consistency, as we see Florea having real problems. You pointed that out earlier on. I think he's maybe got some issue with his tyres on that car, because he is just getting swamped by cars left, right and centre. He was up into 4th position as Chapman sends it from about 2 weeks ago into the corner. There's going to be a little bit of contact there, and that's going to affect Daniel Florea on the outside of that corner there, because Ethan Swan now fancies a go and getting himself past here.
Rick Swan's not too far behind either in the BMW, as Chapman keeps it ahead of Florea. Let's see how Florea handles Radiant. Actually, that was quite neat and tidy for the Ferrari there, in the number 20 from Twisted Racing, but he's going to be a sitting duck now to the Audi, because look at the closing speed from Ethan Swan. Pulls to the inside in towards Nicom off of the Kemmel Straight, and the number 14 Audi gets through rather easily, so I think it's a bit of damage limitation for Daniel Florea. Meanwhile, Matthew Plaisance, the ERS by Skyline Designs crew are literally dominating the AM class at the moment, because Plaisance has got past Fowler. That's Michael Fowler in the number 54 car for P2. And now, could we see a little bit of a repeat of what we saw in race 1, that Braden Melling and Matthew Plaisance, both teammates but both in different cars, as now we've got, here comes the Porsche Light Brigade. It's Paul Busby, and look how close he is to Dave Menino as they go down the hill from La Source into Eau Rouge, up the hill, over the crest, through Radiant. That Porsche is going to have that Lamborghini for dinner.
Yeah, that's going to be one of the easier overtakes, I think, of the day here. It certainly got the run, and not only that's a little boost, although, is it? That Lamborghini's actually holding with it, to be fair. That's going to hold on to the position. But the thing is that they're catching up
he's
to
lost
Ryan.
it! He's lost it! Menino
Dear.
was too hot. Menino was too hot going into there, and look, he's dropped out of the top 6 like a proverbial stone in a pond. Make that the top 8 now. Well, that was Taylor Lane that's just gone past, so Taylor Lane's gone. Thank you very much for opening the barn doors there for me, Dave. Yeah, just like, look, the back end was stepping out already. Busby just put him under pressure, and Menino had to respond, and Busby was, he had nowhere to go. There was a little bit of a touch between the two, but it was the slightest of glances there. When he's touched the Audi in front. That was an Audi in front, and Michael Fowler is in the pits. I hope that Michael Fowler did not sustain any damage from that. Well, he was in the pit lane for about 12.7 seconds. But yeah, it's but now we've got this great battle between that's Kyle Boz, who's ahead of Dean Timms, and there is Ryan Kaprowski in the number 93 looking towards the outside of the bus stop chicane. Carl Voss in the Celeritas Sim Racing number 3 BMW M4 GT3 keeping a hold of 4th position, whilst Harry Wills has got an absolute mountain to climb. He's got to find 2.4 seconds as quickly as he can, because Paul Busby at the moment, looking at the lap times, Paul Busby was just under 0.2 of a second slower than Sean Ryan, who's got a gap of about 1.2 seconds for the overall race lead thus far, with 18.5 minutes completed out of the 50.
Brilliant start so far for a lot of the field, though. As you said, nearly 20 minutes gone in the race, and Sean Ryan just making his way past one of the Mercedes, just coming out of pit lane there. 1.2 seconds over Paul Busby. That still can come down. I thought that might have come down, but again, it's a case of, you know, these cars really have to knuckle down and push hard, especially with the Ferrari. Ferrari's fairly good on its tyres, fairly easy. It doesn't really degrade the tyres too much here. But again, I'm very curious as to how this one is going to unfold. But back in Pro-Am, that looks like a heck of a battle for P3 right now.
Yeah, P3, I mean, Brown is leading that one with Uruksoy. There's Chase Wilson, and he's trying to look up the inside. They nearly rub a little bit of paint between the Lamborghini and the BMW, and you've got two cars behind. Wilson's going to get the inside line and go through. That's going to be second position, ahead of the number 63 car. That's Errol Uruksoy that he's just passed. So Chase Wilson looking for the double tonight, and that'll be a maximum score of 100 points. The same could be said for Paul Busby as well, because he's got that gap down from 1.2 seconds now down to just under 3/4 of a second. So there could be, possibly our first drivers in 2 respective classes, both in Pro and Pro-Am, that could be gunning for 2 victories tonight.
Be interesting to see if they can do that, because as we said, it's so important to get a good amount of points early on in this season, and that's exactly what is on the cards. But saying that, still half an hour left to go. This is for me the key thing. We saw earlier on tonight that undercut works very, very well, so don't be surprised if you see any of the cars going in the next 5 minutes or so, them able to make big moves, because they're able to get a bit of clear air and they're not fighting the cars around them. In fact, Louis Colon.
Yeah, you were saying Louis Colon's just gone into the pits. Well, it's a long pit lane here, so they've got to go all the way round the top of La Source and then go into the GT pit lane. But Paul Busby, I've just noticed, has got Sean Ryan in his crosshairs. Look how fast that Porsche has been. He did a 2 minute 15.6, whereas Ryan did a 2 minute 16.4. Ryan now knows that Paul Busby is on the warpath, and that number 98 Porsche from Effect Esports is not going to hang around.
He's really not, and I think there's going to be a little bit of fuel saving into play with this one as well, Alex. I mean, just noticing the way that Ryan's pace has dropped off there. His last lap there was a 2:16.48. Paul Busby's was a 2:15.62. So, you know, the 2:16s, 2:17s are more representative of what we've seen pace-wise across the field here. So I wonder if Busby is just opening the tap a little bit more to try and get position here.
I think you could be right there, but he does not need to go wide through Pouillon like he just did on the first part of it just then. So we are going to see how quickly Paul Busby dispatches Sean Ryan, because that could be coming very, very soon indeed. They're going to come down the hill once again. They'll go through in towards Stavelot and then into Curve Paul Frere. They're going through Stavelot right now, and now it's upping the pace, upping the wick, putting down the pedal to the metal. And they'll be negotiating Blanchimont at around about 6th gear, close to 260-65 kph, which is around about 170 miles an hour in these GT3 machines. And Busby is just waiting now. He's got a real good run out of Blanchimont. What's the number 98 going to do? He's going to swing to the outside, heading into the bus stop chicane. Ryan defends. Great exchange between these two, but Ryan keeps a hold for the position.
And we've seen this time and time again, Alex, where the Porsche, you know, it gets outdone, say, down the straight by maybe the Ferrari or the Mercedes, but it just has the agility to carry more speed into that final corner and make up a lot of time here.
Definitely. I mean, the Porsche's got its strength, but with the fact that it's producing around 700 foot-pounds of torque from the rear axle of that 3.9 litre twin-turbo V8 Ferrari, you can see just how close they are to circumventing track limits going through Radiant. But again, Busby is right in the slipstream. He's going to pull to the inside. Is he going to get the side draft? Looks like he is, and he's going to pull past Ryan before they even hit the apex at Les Combes. And Busby is now through to the race lead as we're just over half-time.
It was a great move there, really well thought out here. However, it's not going to be the last move, because you're going to see that move repeated time and time again between these two, and the more they fight, the more that's going to bring potentially Harry Wills into this little battle, as well as potentially the likes Dean Timms and Kyle Bos. But we'll leave them to do their little fighting just now, because there are still more little battles going on. For example, the battle for third position, Rexoy, John Trainer and Stephen Martinez all duking out here.
Yeah, and this is for the battle for P3 in the Pro-Am class. Chase Wilson is about 5.5 seconds adrift of Gary Brown in the number 49, who's built up a nice little lead in that Porsche in the early stages of the race, as we are fast approaching 25 minutes of the race completed, with another 25 to go after that one. But Eric Soy in the number 63 Twisted Racing BMW keeping a hold of third position in the Pro-Am class thus far, doing a great job. He's starting to pull away a little bit from John Trainer and Steve Martinez, but they're both keeping him very honest at the moment. And I think Eric Soy knows that he's got to cross the T's, dot the I's, make no mistakes, and hope that his pit stop is going to be lightning fast in comparison with the two behind, as Wilson, I've just noticed, has taken a massive chunk out of Gary Brown's lead. That that lead has gone down to under 5 seconds. Kyle Boz, I've just noticed, in the Pro class has just pulled into pit road at the halfway point of this race. So 25 minutes down, 25 to go. But does it look to me that Trainell's actually catching Urexoy here, David, because he's right close, late on the brakes into the bus stop chicane. So I think Urexoy, I'm wondering if the tyres on the BMW might be having a little bit of a drama in this halfway point of the race. But we will see if that develops over the course of this race, as Kyle Boz is in pit lane and about to park into his pit box. So he's going to drop outside of the top 15 overall, whereas Paul Busby is still leading the Pro class. But we keep our eyes on Urexoy. Urexoy now has a lead of just under 0.8 of a second ahead of Trainell, with Martinez really giving the Mercedes something to think about for 4th position in the Pro-Am class. And yeah, it could be very, very interesting indeed how things change over the course of the next few minutes, because the pit stops, David, are going to be rife in the next 5 or 10 minutes, aren't they?
Can we just pretend that I've not been talking to you for the past minute or so while I had the mute button on my headset? Let's
oh dear,
let's just glaze over that one. I'm wondering why you're acting all confused, like when you're talking to me and then you fill back in. I'm so sorry, buddy. It's late over here in the UK. Anyway, let's catch up on the several things that I've been trying to say. One is that we've been absolutely spoiled tonight by the level of racing. This is now what we need to expect now from both the EU splits and the US splits, proving that you can get hard, firm, fast racing for the most part across all the different splits there. There's no need for crazy last minute lunges. It's a 50-minute race, and a lot of the drivers kind of showing that. And unfortunately, I was waiting to say Taylor Lane's crash, but it's not. He's went into the pits there. But also, what you were saying there, 25 minutes left to go, the amount of strategy that can still be extracted from this race. We've seen absolutely nothing yet in terms of what this race has got to offer. We've just seen the opening act. The next 10-15 minutes, that's when we're going to see the real strategy coming out here, Alex.
I think also, we were talking about tyres. I think especially when I was talking with Gary Brown, and well, Gary's dropped quite a few places in the meantime. I'm not too sure if he's managed to pit, but Paul Busby from Effect Esports, the Brit who will not be using his headset mic here tonight or in the morning where we are at the moment, because he's a fellow Brit, but has been absolutely uncompromising when it comes to I'm just going to go out there and I'm just going to win. I mean, you also look at Harry Wills up to P3 already, and quite a few of the drivers have yet to serve their mandatory pit stop. But I'm wondering if people have decided to fuel the cars for a little bit longer to allow them just to eke out the max out of these tyres. And even though it's a long pit stop, entering through into the bus stop, then having to go around La Source, how much time does it cost you overall if you actually opt for a set of tyres as well as a little bit of fuel?
I think it's going to cost you around about 35 seconds. I think it's about 15 seconds for just fuel to go in, because obviously your main pit stop, your pit lane time, is still about a minute and 20 seconds by the time that you end up going through. So 15 seconds just for fuel, and then I think it's about 30 seconds for tyres as well. So it's up to you whether it's worth it if you're going to be able to make up that amount of time. But for the majority of people, I don't know if they can, but a lot of pit stops now coming in here.
Harry Wills in, Dean Timms in, Mark Chapman, Ethan Swan, John Casey, Matt Scherf also in the pit lane. And there is Harry Wills being followed by Dean Timms. So Dave Meneno, who started from pole position before that issue a little bit earlier on in the race where he ended up spinning around more times than Carly Minogue did. But Paul Busby has just been absolutely ruthless. But I have to give credit to Sean Ryan. He's kept pace with him.
Yeah, he really, really has. Also, big thank you to Monty, who's commented that tyres weren't too much of an issue earlier. And I wonder, because the tyres will last the hour, but the problem is if they've got the pressure set too high, they might be overdriving the tyres in very quick fashion. So we'll certainly see. But fuel seems to be the key factor here. Is when are you going to actually pit? As Ryan goes a little bit wide there, does Sean Ryan? Fuel is going to be the big thing for dictating when you can do it.
That was wide, and I think the back end slightly stepped out for Paul Busby there. That was coming out of the second. I think that was coming out of turn 11 at Speaker's Corner. The back end a little bit sideways, a little bit squirrely, as Harry Wills now makes his way out of pit lane, and he's absolutely launching that thing through pit lane, through the exit of it, coming onto the Kemmel Straight. So Harry Wills rejoins in 5th position.
Yeah, it's a good pit stop for Harry there. As we see, Louis Colon has unfortunately decided to send himself off to the Netherrealm here.
He's yeeted himself then.
He has. I think it's super uneventful. Yeah, he's spun the car before he's even got round, and it's around and around and around the corner for Louis Colon.
With a little donut sprinkled in for good measure. Did that have hundreds and thousands on it, I wonder? Never mind.
There might be hundreds and thousands on the tyre after he's finished with it. Oh, Andrew Hewitt straight into the wall as well here.
Oh, dearie me. So that's the number 7 HRL Porsche. And that's going to be coming down the hill. Goes into the corner. Well, you can see that he's already trying to correct the steering. And
to be fair, that's actually not too bad there. I thought that was going to be a big hit, but he's just lost it and manages to gather it up quite quickly, Alex.
Yeah, well, I could see that he was using a bit of opposite lock, because the car was sort of like being a bit tail happy to the left, and he was correcting by turning in. Like say, when you lose the back end of a car, you turn into the direction that it's going into, and he managed to catch it. So it's a good save there from Andrew Hewitt. Here's Ryan Kaprowski, who again finds himself in the top 3. So a good run for the number 93. He's up 5 positions from 8th on the grid to now P3, as we're not that far away from having just over 15 minutes to go in about just over 2 minutes time. Now, who's that in front of him? That's probably a back marker from one of the other classes, I believe, that's in front of him. So Kaprowski might use this to an advantage, get a little bit of a slipstream, get a little bit of a tow just to springboard past him. And they're going to be going through now into, that's going to be Pour that they're going through as we speak. So that's turn 12. That driver looks to, well, whoever that is in front of him seems to have the pace to keep in front of the Mercedes as they go through into turns 13 and 14 as they head down the hill in towards Campus and into Stavlo. And Kaprowski's going to watch himself right now, isn't he?
He does, because this is not his fight right now, because this is a car that's further down the order there. That's Daniel Florea, who's the AM battle. That's Braden Melling. He's just passed the number 8 car I've just seen, because Florea's in a Ferrari. You're right. Yep. Great spot.
Yeah, Daniel Florea is actually ahead of him. So Melling's dropped to P4. So Braden Melling has had a pit stop. He was in the pits for just under 13 seconds. Florea's yet to serve his pit stop.
I'm going to make a bold statement, Alex. I think Harry Wills is going to take the lead of this race. Wills is absolutely okay. Maybe not like that. That's not too good.
No.
The point being is that he is on pace with the top 4 who are low on fuel and doing fast laps. He is absolutely tearing round this track right now, about 55 seconds behind the leader right now. This could be, when the pit stops are done and dusted and everything is said and done, I think he's, regardless of what just happened there, he's in a very, very strong position right now, Alex.
Yeah, there's quite a few pit stops happening as well. Uruxoy in the pits, Martinez, Carolo, Delano, Ristau and Nunn all in the pit lane. So that's promoted Michael Kulaga up a couple of positions, as Wills now will cross the line. Currently showing in P5 at the moment. Paul Busby's still got a lead over Sean Ryan by about 0.6 of a second, as we've got 15 minutes on the timer still to go, and still the top two have not really been separated since Busby took the lead a few laps ago.
They haven't though, have they? I mean, it's been absolutely fantastic to watch here. The reason I was saying that about Harry Wills is because everyone that's pitted has been around about 1 minute 20 to 1 minute 30, and if that gap is 55 seconds to a minute, Harry Wills is going to be looking very, very happy with things right now. But again, that could all change. But either way, Paul Busby has been a master with this pressure that he's had to deal with Sean Ryan. Remember, the two of them were duking it out earlier on, and we thought that Sean Ryan was actually going to take the charge of this, but Paul Busby able to snap back and answer that very, very quickly indeed.
Well, Paul Busby has just put in previous time around a 2 minute 15.4. Okay, Harry Wills' last lap, 2 minute 16.4 is now Busby. Goes into pits. Ryan follows suit, so both of them down pit road. They're going to go onto the pit lane speed limiter, and they are going to trundle down pit lane, and there is Harry Wills in the number 95. Ryan Meneno is now in. Ryan Kaprowski now in. I think you might be right here, David. It just depends on how much of a wiggle on Harry Wills gets going, because he will now know that by his displays on his sim rig, but he does not want to go off the circuit like he did just there, but he still kept the throttle fully planted as he comes out of Stavelot through Curve Paul Frere. So Chase Wilson is in from the Pro-Am lead, as is John Traynor. Michael Kulaga is not too far behind, and Eric Kulaga is not too far adrift either. So could the two Kulagas maybe throw a spanner in the works for the Pro-Am class, because Wills is now making his way into the bus stop.
Isn't he just? And Paul Busby is the first one to pit right now. This is the issue. That's them just pitted now. So even if they're taking a 14-second stop, he's going to be up to La Source. But Busby only does 11.25 seconds. So let's keep an eye here, because he's going to be out of pit lane. Paul Busby comes back out on the track then. So I might have been a touch optimistic there with my comment about Harry Wills.
There's Wills. Did I just see Wills?
No,
just
Wills
go through
is just
shot?
coming down here now.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, Wills hasn't been able to do it.
Well, that just goes to show that Paul Busby has timed his pit stop to absolute perfection. Knew when the window of opportunity was. And now Wills currently finds himself, in third position in the Pro class, and he's about 8.3 seconds. And what Paul Busby does not want is a rogue Porsche in front of him. I think that might have been Andrew Hewitt that he's just gotten past in the number 7 car, going down the hill as they're going to go through into the next left-hander at T11 on the run down to Pouin. But Busby, I don't think anyone... Well, as soon as Paul Busby set his mark in this sprint race earlier on, he's now just literally exaggerated that exclamation point that people are now going to say, Paul Busby was unstoppable at Spa. What's he going to be like on Porsche's home turf at the Hockenheimring in a week's time?
I did say though that it's all about setting that marker down. It leaves such an impression for everyone else that you're going to be fighting through the season here. It's going to be so important for that to happen here. However, I think Wills can be very, very happy with a third place tonight if that is where he ends up, and it might not be, but it's still a really, really good performance given that Ryan Kaprowski is about 3.5 seconds behind where he is just now. So yeah, great battles going on. I think the only battle that's left is down in the likes of the Pro-Ams, where you've got this little fight here between Stephen Martinez, Errol Erexoy, and you've got Jeff Carollo and Justin Delano as well.
Yeah, Jeff Carollo having a better time this time around, but yeah, Errol Erexoy closing in on Steve Martinez for 4th place in the Pro-Am class. So someone has definitely left the wheel tracks and the kitty litter just there going through part of Stavelot. But yeah, Erexoy could have an opportunity if he gets a real good slingshot coming out of Blanchimont. That BMW looks rather well planted, takes a tighter line through Blanchimont, whereas Martinez takes a wider sweep through the corner. And look at the closing rate of speed from Urexoy. They're now going to go into the braking zone. Urexoy hard on the brakes, less than a car length behind Martinez as they come out of the bus stop chicane. And is that Jeff Carollo just behind? I think that might be. And now they're going to go, excuse me, into La Source and then go down the hill. We've got just under 10 minutes of this race remaining, and it has been an absolute cracker so far, Mr. Christie.
Yeah, certainly has loved every single minute of this. 9.5 minutes left to go. We're watching John Traynor right now in second place in that Pro-Am battle, and as it stands then, so it's still Paul Busby from Sean Ryan and Harry Wills in the Pro battle. You've then got Chase Wilson, John Traynor, Steve Martinez for the podium in the Pro-Ams, and then in the Ams it looks like Daniel Flarea finally making his pit stop very, very late indeed, and he's going to lose that position to Matthew Plaisance, who's going to take the lead of this race here ahead of potentially Braden Mailing, and might be done actually by Mark Chapman here. So I wonder if this is maybe a little bit too late here for Daniel Flarea.
Well, it also means that ERS by Skylines Designs are looking for another one too, and you know what's really, really funny here, David? All three Race 1 winners are in the lead of their respective classes here at Race 2. I didn't really sort of expect... I kind of expected it with Busby. I didn't expect it with Wilson, with Plaisance. So we could have two... we could have all race winners being the same people, as Carl Boz has really got... that is Dean Timms just behind him by about 0.4 of a second in the battle for P5. In the pro class, there's Harry Wills trying to close in on Sean Ryan, who's about 5.4 seconds up the road, with just 8 minutes plus an additional lap still remaining in this feature race here at Spa-Francorchamps. But it's been a great race once again. I mean, the strategy has played out a bit differently in this second race, but you and I kind of expected that with the pit stop phase and seeing, a lot of drivers, spending no more than, say, maybe about 15 seconds as Michael Kulaga lights up the rear tyres on the Vulture Motorsports number 82 Ferrari. Let's see what happened here. And he's got a car just behind, car up his inside. That was the number 94 car. And that was Richie Tremaco, who gives him a little bit of a touch, and Kulaga goes spinning, and the Lamborghini misses the Ferrari. Oh, mamma mia. And Michael Kulaga, I think he also might have a racing stroke, to check him a little bit later on. But look at the battle here. Martinez and Urexoy. Urexoy with one of the best moves of the night. Forget Busby around the outside of Wills going through into Bruxelles. That was a Weber Alonso GT3 style by Errol Urexoy on Steve Martinez. What a move for P3.
That was absolutely incredible. Loved watching that and seeing how that one all unfolded there. In fact, so much so I kind of want to see that again here. So this was actually earlier on, so we'll skip to the next one. But yeah, just coming out of La Source here, so you can see them side by side. And again, the great respect from these cars here. To be able to fight side by side but not actually come into contact with each other as they come down the hill here up through towards Eau Rouge and then through Radion as well. And you see just how much that Jeff Carollo there has been kind of hung out to dry with that let off the brakes there.
Well, he had to do something, because otherwise he would have been in the back bumper of Martinez, and they both, Martinez would have been yeeted into the barriers 100%. And Martinez would have, Carollo might have just sort of gone, sorry, my bad, didn't mean for that to happen.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that's going to wash, to be honest with you. It certainly wouldn't be me if it was me that was taking part in this race. But either way, look, 5 minutes left to go, and I think things now kind of well and truly settled down. We have a big gap for all of our podiums now, and it might just be a case of just taking it home for these guys.
Yeah, with just over, just 5.5 minutes remaining on the clock, plus an additional lap, Errol Urexoy now finds himself in P3 in the Pro-Am class, and he's about 2 seconds behind the car of John Traynor in the number 28, who is probably just exiting. There he is in the Mercedes. That gap's now gone down, so maybe Urexoy, with that little bit of vinegar in his system, might be able to close in on Traynor for that second place, because if he can get a good run through Eau Rouge and Radion like he is doing just there, neatly negotiated by the number 63 twisted BMW M4 GT3 as they go down the Kemmel straight. That gap is around about, it's stabilised a little bit, it's 1.8 seconds, but Errol Yuriksoy was 4/100ths quicker than John Traynor on the previous tour. There's your overall race leader. Paul Busby's checked out. He's not in Belgium, he's in Germany now. But he is having to deal with some back market traffic as they're going through Blanchimont at high speed, and that car's going to keep out of the way of the overall race leader. He's got the headlamps on full beam as he heads through into the bus stop chicane once again. It's been an absolute dominant performance from Paul Busby, starting 10th after the reverse grid top 10, following on from his sprint race 1 victory earlier on tonight. Paul Busby is very, very much unchallenged as he heads out of the source, swings the car a little bit wide, keeps 2 wheels within the white lines, and closes into the wall going into Eau Rouge and Radion. Let's see how the Porsche handles it. Nice and neatly up he goes. That was pretty sweet from the number 98 Porsche, as his lead over Sean Ryan now is around about 3.7 seconds. Harry Wills is a further 5.3 seconds adrift, so Wills will have to be pretty happy with a second and a third place tonight. But David, Paul Busby has been the Paul Busby Porsche show here at Spa-Francorchamps tonight, hasn't it?
But yeah, he's kind of shown exactly how it should be done, and that Porsche looks very, very, tidy, planted. He's not been crazy with it. He's not, pushed it way too far. He's just been cool, calm, and collected. That's exactly what you want in your first season's performance.
So after this race, it'll be a little bit of respite, maybe a couple of days just to sort of chill out and then get ready for round 2 at the Hockenheimring in the Baden-Württemberg region of Germany, not too far from the homes of BMW, Porsche and Mercedes. So the German machinery could have a part to play next week for round 2 of this 10-round championship. But Paul Busby continuing to roll on like no one has troubled him all day long. He managed the pit stop to absolute meticulous perfection, and that has proved in his race pace. And he's also, I think, put in the fastest lap of the race so far, 2 minute 15.04 from the Porsche. Incredible pace at this last stage.
Brilliant stuff though, and again, it's such a cliche to say it, Alex, but it honestly feels like such a privilege to be part of this and to enjoy what is essentially, in the last 10 minutes, an exhibition race.
Yeah, and the exhibition was meant to happen at Le Mans just a week ago, and now we're getting a real idea of how the pendulums are swinging in the respective classes, because at the moment, folks, we look to have all race 1 winners in the lead of their respective classes. Look at the gap that we got with Chase Wilson ahead of John Traynor. That is a mighty lead, 9.1 seconds, as Busby makes his way through down the Kemmel Straight for what could be more than likely the penultimate time of this race, because the time will hit 50 minutes more than likely before he hits the bus stop chicane and the start finish line, which will put the white flag into the air. Matthew Plaisance leading by nearly 4.9 seconds from his ERS by Skyline Designs teammate Braden Melling. It has been an absolutely dominant performance, and again, Paul Busby is just bringing the car home, and what's more, he's even further extending his lead. He was quicker by over 6/10 in comparison with the number 29 of Sean Ryan, who still hangs on to second position. Harry Wills in the latter stages has started to close that gap, as now we go to a replay. This is with Taylor Lane coming down the start-finish straight and into La Source. What's going to happen with the 32 here? He just puts down the throttle a bit too hard coming through La Source and keeps it out of the wall lights up the rear tyres, leaves the Levinsons on the tarmac and gets back underway. But Paul Busby now making his way down towards the bottom part of the circuit. He'll come through turns 13 and 14 into Campus, so he's going to head through into Stavelot as the timer hits 50 minutes as someone's gone off track just in front. Busby's going to try and get past this Audi that's a back marker just ahead, and that is the number 4 car. That's Ethan Swan, who he's just got past rather quickly and expediently through Blanchimont. But Paul Busby on now what is lap number 22 out of 23. The timer hit 50 minutes about 25 seconds ago. And Paul Busby here, David Christie, now goes, well, the checker's going to be out this time. So Paul Busby makes it 2 for 2 here at Spa-Francorchamps as Porsche dominates in the Pro class.
Brilliant performance there from Paul Busby, and you can see from that rather, gentle celebration there after it that he's very, very happy. But listen, Sean Ryan again flew under the radar there in second place. Brilliant second place there. Harry Wills didn't kill himself, so that's always a great result. Although, yeah, well, he decides to save that until afterwards. Ryan Kapreski in fourth position, but obviously we have to then have a look at Chase Wilson. That gap is just nuts, 9 seconds, when remember that John Traynor and Chase Wilson were really kind of going toe-to-toe earlier on in the race.
They were, and Wilson picks up a feature race win along with his sprint race win from earlier on tonight, so that's going to be a maximum haul of 100 points. But there has been a change in the AM class, because I spy with my little eye Braden Melling is leading his teammate. Now, what on earth happened to Matthew Plaisance? Because Plaisance was leading by a couple of seconds, and Plaisance is now 6.1 seconds adrift. So it's not going to be the same. We're not going to have we're not going to have the same winners in all 3 classes. Braden Melling is going to show something different. Now, this is what happened with Matthew Plaisance. This is coming down the Kemmel Straight. There is a Mercedes just up in front, and Plaisance is just going to drop the back end through Les Carmes. He loses the back end all on his own, and that gave Braden Melling the opportunity he needed. So it's 1 for Matthew Plaisance, and in the feature race it's going to be Braden Melling that comes out of the final corner. The Canadian will take the win in the feature race ahead of his teammate by 5.6 seconds. Well, who'd have thought of that one? The apple cart was upset, and it was in AM of all classes.
Yeah, and it was so quiet as well. You know, we were so busy watching everything else that we kind of missed all that. So, yeah, great that we could finally catch up. But we're just waiting for Mark Chapman to come across the line, and we'll be able to get some results. And already we've got some drivers heading in for a chat with us. So we'll be able to have a little word with them very, very shortly after our results.
Yes, indeed. So let's, before we start with our final set of interviews to curtail the broadcast here on Sim Sports Solutions, a big thank you to them for providing the broadcast all season long. So let's have a look at the pro results. So 2 for 2 for Paul Busby. Will win in the sprint, and our win in the feature gives the number 98 from Effect Esports a maximum score of 100 points. Sean Ryan takes the second place ahead of Harry Wills, with Ryan Kaprowski completing the top 4. Kyle Bos rounds out the top 5 in the pro class ahead of Dean Timms, with Dave Meneno, who started on pole position, would end up a little bit late, lower down the field. That would end up being in 7th place ahead of Taylor Lane. Chase Wilson takes the win ahead of John Traynor, Errol Yuriksoy and Steve Martinez. So there's your pro classification. Wilson Bruin and James Howard unfortunately out on with 17 laps to go and 21 laps to go. Let's have a look at the Pro Am class. So Chase Wilson winning by nearly 9.7 seconds ahead of John Traynor. Errol Yuriksoy winning the battle for P3 ahead of Steve Martinez, with Ashraf El Haddad making it into 5th in the Twisted Racing Team number 96 car. John Cooper, Justin Delano, Andrew Hewson, Nicholas Robinson and James Nunn ran out the top 10, with Justin Ristow, Eric Kulaga, Richie Trumacco not having a great run on that particular occasion, ahead of Michael Kulaga, with Jeff Corolla rounding out the top 15, with Adam Moy, Gary Brown and Richard Rosado rounding out the 18 strong in the Pro-Am class. But it's a different ERS by Skylines design car. It's the number 8 BMW Braden Melling from Canada that wins the AM class ahead of teammate Matthew Plaisance in the number 9 Porsche. Mark Chapman for Celeritas Sim Racing rounds out the top 3 ahead of Ethan Swan, Rick Swan, rounding out the top 5 with Michael Fowler, Paul Joseph. Daniel Florea was in the hunt for the lead, ended up 8th at the end of that all, with John Casey, Matt Scherf, Andrew Hewitt, Charles Bushell, Drew Neubauer, who we thought was going to be in the mix, unfortunately retiring with 19 laps to go. Jake Scher, Jason Ahrensberg, who unfortunately had that massive coming together with the wall on the right-hand side of the exit of Radion, with Andrew Rasmussen unfortunately also not finishing the race. And we have got a handful of drivers to have a chat with. Let's bring in our 3rd place finisher in the AM class. Let's bring in first of all Mark Chapman, if we can. Well, Mark, firstly,
hello.
Good to have you with us. Great, solid result there, a P3 to round out the night. How are you feeling?
I am absolutely stoked with that result. I mean, we had a bit of a disaster in Blanchamont Race 1. Started dead last in class, and just decided, well, why not? Let's send it and see what happens.
So doing the Danny Rick definitely worked for you tonight in the feature race. So I have to say props to you for that. I mean, it was a great effort. Like you said, the first race, sometimes the sprint races can be a little bit of a stinker, but you know, it's always good when it comes together in the feature race when you've also got that pit stop strategy to contend with as well, haven't you?
Yeah, most definitely. I was definitely cutting it fine on the fuel load there at the end. Like I knew it was going to be tight to sort of try and jump the cars ahead with the undercut, but made it work. I thought I was in trouble there at the end because I didn't get the checkered flag as I crossed the line.
Right.
So I chucked it into the pits, and apparently because I don't know, whatever the glitch in the system was, it was still showing me as white flag. And the teammates are all going, "Oh no, the race is over. You finished 3rd," and I'm like, love it. So it's been a hell of a race, that one.
And thoughts going into Hockenheim next week for round 2? How are you feeling about that?
Feeling pretty confident. I ran this series last year in the Mercedes and never really gelled with the car. But come across to the Ferrari for this season, and most definitely it's we've found a little sweet spot. So I think we were P4, P5 in qualifying. So I think we've every reason to be confident going forward.
Brilliant. Well, Mark, congratulations on your P3 in class here tonight in the AM class here at Spa-Francorchamps. We'll see you in a week's time at the Hockenheim ring.
No worries. I'd just like to say a quick thank you to our team sponsors in Staunch Apparel, and also to IMB Racewear for giving us the opportunity to go racing in this great series.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, Mark, and we'll see you in a week's time, mate.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
So a big thank you to Mark Chapman. Let's bring in Errol Yuruksoy. I think we need to have a chat with this particular individual. Errol, good to have you with us. Solid results around out the night. How are you feeling?
Hey, gentlemen. Pretty good. It was a tough race. Steve Martinez was giving it to me in the back, and trying to hold Chase off. He was pretty fast. So I just had to respect that pace he had.
But the BMW is no slouch around here at Spa. We all know that. It's quite a good all-rounder, but the Ferrari's definitely got the legs on it when it comes to, putting the pedal to the metal and gunning it down the straights. But the BMW had the advantage in the twisty stuff a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. I saw the track got a little bit hotter after qualifying, so I turned the wing up, which I think cost me some of the straights, but I was making up in the turns. And the other advantage the Beamer has over everything is I can just run over anything, so I could take all the curb that I wanted. So that gave me a little bit of more of an advantage in the curbs. In the turns, I felt.
So next week we go to a circuit that BMW is very well associated with the Hockenheim ring. How are you fancying your chances there?
I feel pretty good about Hockenheim. I've had a lot of success at Hockenheim with German cars, so I'm looking forward to that one. I'm pretty excited.
Brilliant. Well, Errol, congratulations on your P3 in the Pro-Am class here in the feature race, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You too. A big thank you there to Errol Yuruksoy. Let's see if we can bring in our runner-up from the Pro-Am class. Let's bring in Sean Ryan in the number 29 Ferrari. Hey Sean, how are you doing? Good to have you with us. Congratulations on your second place. It was not quite enough to try and put a number over on Paul Busby to deny him of a double win tonight, but you gave it your all.
Yeah. He just fueled one lap less than I did, and I took one extra lap fuel, and he was kind of gone up the road, going to catch back up. So it's a good race though.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to have the sprint race where everyone can sort of like get the adrenaline out of the way, and then it seems to be a little bit more of a calmer affair. But you kept Paul very, very honest for a lot of the race. I mean, there were times when we didn't see the gap go anywhere over 3/4 of a second between you two, and you were pretty much marginal on race pace. I mean, that must pretty much give you a good feeling going into the rest of the season, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, I'm extremely pleased with how this race weekend went. You know, I came out here not really sure of my pace. You know, I wasn't available for the press day, so I missed that race. So I kind of came into this group cold, not really knowing where, you know, my Ferrari was going to be, where, you know, people around me were going to be, and extremely pleased with qualifying and the pace that I showed.
So we go from Spa to Hockenheim. I mean, the Ferraris, it's always been a monster when you put the hammer down and you come out of the corners, and it's a bit like a rocket ship. How are you feeling ahead of next week?
You know, I'm looking forward to Hockenheim. I don't have a ton of experience there, so I definitely got to put some hours in for practice. I've only ever done that track maybe one or two times, but I'm looking forward to it. You know, it's a really interesting track. It's different from Spa for sure. So looking forward to it. Should be fun.
Brilliant. Well done tonight in the feature race, Sean, and we'll see you in a week's time in Germany in the virtual recreation. So thank you very much for tonight.
Thanks, mate. Have a good night.
A big thank you there to Sean Ryan. Right, let's bring in the two teammates. Let's bring in the ERS guys, Braden Melling and Matthew Plaisance. Let's see if we can bring them in together and have a chat with both of them. So, Braden, Matthew, another 1-2 for the team. A reverse order to what we had in the sprint race. Matthew, first of all, what happened going into Le Com? Was it the tyres that caused the problem?
No, it was that was a lapped car, and it just threw my rhythm off just enough. I went in a little bit too hot and turned in just a little too sharp, and that was that.
But Braden, that gave you the opportunity to pick up your first win of season 4. So you both got one apiece. You must be feeling a bit on cloud 9 that both you and Matthew have got a victory in both races, but it's also a 1-2 once again for the team. You guys have literally dominated the AM class so far this season, and it's only the opening round out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, you know, it was only a few days ago, me and Matt were both having trouble on this track, but, you know, just good hard practice, working together, managed to get our pace up, and, you know, that's what you really need in this series, is lots of practice.
I think also, you know, the German machinery we all know is very strong around here. I mean, BMW, Porsche notwithstanding, but of course we go to their home turf, to Hockenheim in a week's time. How are you both feeling about the different dynamic from going to such an iconic circuit like Spa to something a bit more compact, a bit more technical, a bit more, you know, places where it's going to be a bit more difficult to overtake? How are you both feeling ahead of the second round in a week's time?
I mean, I'm not going to lie, Hockenheim is probably up there as one of my favorite tracks. I do enjoy racing around there. I've had a lot of success in the past in official series. And, you know, it's going to be the same thing as Spa. Just, you got to pick your points to attack. If you try throwing up a dumb move, or even, like, don't do a full attempt at a pass, you're just going to lose so much time, and that's going to cost you a lot.
Matthew, how about yourself? How are you feeling ahead of Hockenheim next week?
Well, I don't have nearly as much experience at this track, but I believe we're doing an endurance race this weekend. Is that correct, Braden?
Yeah, we're doing IMSA this weekend.
Okay, yeah. So I'll get a good bit of practice in ahead of next week.
Cool. Well, guys, congratulations on not just one top 2 finishes, but it's a pair for the pair of you. Congratulations on tonight. We'll see you in a week's time.
Yeah.
Thank you so
great
much.
race
And
here.
I'd like to give a shout out to Harry. He knows what he did. That's all.
He does know what he did.
The old Kimi Raikkonen joke right there. Big thank you to Matthew and Braden there. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you in a week's time.
All right.
Okay, last interview of the night. Well, let's bring in our double class victor from the Pro-Am category. It's 2 for 2, and it's the number 13 Lamborghini of one Mr. Chase Wilson. Chase, well, you along with Phil Busby have done the double tonight. You must be on cloud 9 right about now.
Oh yeah, and let me tell you, I'm sweating up a storm over here. That second race was a little bit more tricky. Probably saw in the replay there were a couple spin outs right ahead of me, and it was kind of a dice throw on where to commit to a line. And fortunately, was able to pick my way through those first couple laps, and then once I was given the opportunity, just drive away from those guys and really just knock off lap times.
Then now you've got a maximum score of 100 points heading into Hockenheim. How do you think the Lamborghini is going to fare at that fantastic circuit in its own right?
I'm already scared of the curbs there. Anyone who's driven the Lamborghini knows that it is not a friend of the curbs. So I think the dynamic of the race next week is going to be a little different. I bet you we see a couple Mercedes back up towards the front again, but I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, hopefully we can continue this momentum through the season.
Yeah, well, it has got a little bit of Audi DNA with that power plant that it's got in the mid part of it. So you should be fine as long as you keep away from those curbs at the Hockenheim ring. But Chase, congratulations on the double victory tonight, and we'll see you in a week's time.
Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of the week.
Brilliant. Well, that concludes the interview part. David Christie, final words of the evening, good sir, before we call time. So, 2 drivers in Pro and Pro-Am. So, Paul Busby and Chase Wilson, double winners tonight. And it's one apiece between Matthew Plaisance and Braden Melling in the Am class. That's it from myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and my partner in crime, who's also been working the cameras tonight. So he's been effectively doing double duty, Mr. David Christie. That's it from us here at Spa-Francorchamps for the IMB World Series League for GT3 Season 4. We head from Spa to South Germany to Hockenheim in a week's time. Until next time, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to SimSport Solutions for all the EU and the US action for Season 4 of the IMB World Series League. So we're signing off for now. We'll see you in 7 days. Good night.